Hello art lovers, and welcome back to my studio for a very special Inktober edition. In this video I'll be showing you my drawings from the first 2 weeks of Inktober, and we'll go over kind of how I felt about them, how I'm moving forward, and of course my supplies. So to get us started here, I am using the Daler-Rowney FW acrylic inks. I went out and splurged and got a few different colors, so black and white, Rowney blue, olive green, yellow ochre, flame red, and velvet violet. Now the velvet violet is actually an opalescent ink, so you have to shake it up quite a bit to make sure that you get all the shimmer mixed in with the color. Now lastly, for the inks, I have the Speedball Super Pigmented acrylic inks in gold and silver. These two you really have to shake to get the pigment that's settled to mix in. Just be careful because now I have a gold splattered tank because I noticed a little too late that the top is not sealed super well. Next are these super cheap mechanical pencils that I think I got from the dollar store, and my mechanical eraser. And these are just kind of a random selection of brushes that I've had for a while. The two that I'm pulling out now I actually got specifically for Inktober because they're really nice thin brushes that I thought would do really well for line work. Lastly, as far as supplies go, I have my liquid Frisket, which I usually use to mask off an area so that way I can do a full wash. I didn't get to use this as much as I would have liked because, as you can see, I'm using charcoal black and also toned paper, and although the colored inks look really great on them, you can see I did some tests, they tend to get torn up when I use the Frisket. So I didn't get to use the Frisket as much as I would have liked to for the first 2 weeks of Inktober. Another, I guess, reference more than supply that I use are these few books that I've had for a while that talk about different kinds of mythology and fairies, and that's where I get the reference for my Inktober prompt list, at least most of it anyway. Alright, so now we can get to the really fun stuff, the art. So with this video I wanted to show you kind of a little bit of the process. I knew I wasn't going to be able to record 13 videos and fit them all into a 15-minute slot, nor did I want to try. But I did want to share a little bit of process on each type of paper that I use. So this is the brown toned paper, and it's the first day of Inktober, which was fairy. So I decided to do, I wanted to do a little bit of creepy because it is October. This little fairy girl is a praying mantis, and she looks really sweet and is adorable until like she finds something to eat, and then she's a messy eater and she's like ripping heads off of spiders, which I'm okay with because I don't like spiders. So she's ridding the world of all the disgusting spiders to me, which makes her good, although bloodthirsty. So this is me working with that really thin brush, and just kind of getting used to putting in lines and creating different line weights. I love the way the white ink looks on this paper beside the black, and for each piece I wanted to add just a small bit of like color pop. So I didn't go really deep in with all the colors because I did that last year and it was like full color saturation by the end of the month. So I wanted to try and control myself, I guess, and just do a little bit of color in each one, but we'll see how well that goes. This toned pad was actually mixed media, so it held up pretty well to the ink washes. The black pad, however, was just drawing paper, so it was a little thinner. I just had to be a bit more careful when it came to ink washes. Now you guys know I love a good story, but there's not quite enough time to get into the mythology of all of these pieces. So please make sure you check out my Instagram page. I put the details of each story in the description below each image. And I'm sure, just like everyone else, I was so super excited about Inktober. I think it was like the beginning of September, and I was like, yes, Inktober is coming. And I started like planning out what I wanted to do and put a prop list together, and was, you know, just kind of mentally brainstorming about how I wanted these characters to pop off and different aspects of them that I wanted to showcase. And I really love how this first one came out, and it just really pushed me along for the rest of them. So this is day 2, Selkie, and she's half seal, half woman. This is a Berserker for day 3, and she's half boar and half warrior. This is the goddess Pele from Hawaiian mythology. She's half a volcano. Harpy, I started to get a little disappointed because I just didn't have enough time to add the color that I wanted, but then I came back with Kanima, and she was perfect. Next was day 7, which is Phoenix, and I did her on the black paper because I really wanted that fire phoenix to pop off really nicely. So this is actually the second little mini process video, and I wanted to show you kind of my thoughts for working on the black paper. I did my rough sketch in pencil, and then I went over it with white, just because I knew the yellow and the red had a little bit of a hard time showing up on the black alone, or at least I thought they would. So I wanted to give them a white background to start off with, but I realized after doing the wings that because they're acrylic inks, they layer up on each other really nicely, and I just kind of had to put down a base layer of the color and let it dry, and then I could do more on top. And the effect of this gives it kind of a raised look, which is really cool. The birds kind of popping off the page. If you're hearing a bunch of rumbling in the background, it's because Chance is going nuts while I'm doing this recording. Let's see if you can hear him dancing around back here. So yeah, I'm not sure what he is doing right now, but he has lost his ever-loving mind. He's going off. What are you doing? Okay, I think maybe he's done. And this was day 7, Phoenix. The next day in the lineup was Kitsune, and she's a mythical fox. Day 9 is where things started to get really hard. I was spending every day until like 12 a.m. posting a piece, and I just couldn't find the energy to do that one. So I just opted for something that was very simple and graphic. Going into the next day, Leshy, again, it was definitely closer to my style, but I feel like I didn't have the energy to fully think out the process. Day 11 was on Dean, and I felt much more like myself, and everything just flowed a lot better. Day 12 was Bodybot, and she is a Filipino tree spirit. And then day 13 was Moss Maiden, which is a very similar German tree spirit. Day 13 was actually my mom's 60th birthday, so you guys may have noticed this one showed up a little late on my Instagram because we were out celebrating. But taking that break really made this a much more enjoyable piece for me. I think I actually ended up completing this one faster than all of the other Inktober's. Also, when it came to inking for this one, I previously, for the others, I was using that very thin brush, and I went in for inking with a thicker brush this time, and I was so much more comfortable since I had spent all that time using the thinner brush and really learning how to use it to make thicker lines when necessary, but still allowing myself to build up with thin lines, using this thicker brush and creating those thin and thick lines was a lot easier. And I think that that may have actually contributed to me getting this piece done faster, just because I was spending a lot less time, you know, very minutely working on the line work. I was able to get a line down in one solid stroke. I should probably also mention that I am obviously working on white paper for this final piece of the 2 weeks. It is Blick's Premium Hot Press Watercolor Block. All of the pads of paper that I used are 9x12, and then I cut each piece down to an 8x8 square, just because I wanted to try and work with a different size. I think I might continue this for a little while moving forward, definitely for the rest of Inktober, but maybe in some of my other pieces as well. I like working in the square shape. I think it's because I'm right-handed that I have this strange tendency to have all my drawings slightly skewed to the right side of the paper. So doing it this way means that I can crop it down so that the image is actually centered where I want it to be. So overall, the things that I think I've learned from these first 2 weeks of Inktober is, one, I definitely should have started my paintings before the 1st of October, just so that way I wouldn't feel so rushed on every piece. 2, I really enjoy inking with a brush. I wasn't sure if it was something that I would like doing, just because I have a tendency to like to build up my line weight, but it's much faster, it's a lot smoother. After I stopped being nervous about it, it was a lot easier on my hands. With a couple of the first ones, my hands were so sore because I was like so stressed about getting the line perfect. But now it's much easier to do line art, and I think that, or I've decided rather, that moving forward I'm just going to I'm going to take 2 from this selection that I've created for each week and do 2 a week instead of doing 1 every day. Just because I want to enjoy doing these pieces, and I don't want to be stressed about every piece that comes out and whether or not it's right, and having that one day for Bear Walker where I knew exactly what I wanted to draw, but I just had no energy or motivation to get it down on the paper, and that was so frustrating for me. So I don't want to feel that way about my art, and yeah, so I've decided, because of that, because of the art show that I have coming up, and all the preparations that I need to do for that, I am just going to do 2 a week for the rest of the month. And speaking of the show I'm curating, the Urban Autumn Arts Exhibition is a little under a month away, and I'm super excited for these awesome artists that are in the lineup. It's going to be a really great show, so I hope that some of you can come out. There's still a lot of work to do, so I'm going to get to it. As always, thank y'all so much for watching. I hope to see some of you at the show, and I will definitely see you all in the next episode of Inktober. Bye!